Hey everyone, welcome to Infill Lot Recon. My name is Mike Marshall with WholesaleLandDepot.com. For more than a decade, I've been helping investors learn how to avoid the landmines and capitalize on the opportunities that exist with vacant infill lots. If you are or you have a goal of becoming an infill lot investor, you're in the right place. This is the first official episode of the podcast. I did record an episode 0 that gives you more of my background and how I ended up in this spot. If that interests you for some very odd reason, go ahead and check that out. You can do that at WholesaleLandDepot.com or on YouTube as well. Today I talk about the only question you really need answered. Everyone I work with wants to know if their lot is buildable. On the surface, it would seem like that's the right question. But the truth is, with enough time and money, almost anything is buildable. So without context, a simple yes or no answer holds really little value, especially if you want to be able to sell the lot to a builder, for example. So what's the one question that you really need answered? Well, that question is why. Why is that lot sat vacant? You want to know why the lot you're looking at has been sitting vacant for so long, why nobody has built on it, why nobody has done anything with it. You need to get a sense of why this lot has remained untouched because it speaks to marketability. Theoretically, the greater the challenges involved with a property, the less marketable it is at a given price. This means that you may have to drop your sales price to move the property, which ultimately impacts your offer price. So not finding out what may turn a deal into a dud will kill you. All duds are lame. We know that. I know that. You don't want a dud. I've worked with people that have purchased some good-sized duds and wish they would have worked with me before they did. Now, hopefully the reason it's vacant is for some most innocent type of reason. The owner has held on to the property for years with the intent of building on it but never moved forward with their plans. Or maybe they inherited the property and never had the intent of doing anything with it other than to simply cash in on it. Your job is to eliminate all other possibilities. It's those possibilities that are subject of this podcast. My job is to help you identify these issues and understand their significance. These issues are the subject of future shows. You want to be able to know what is going to hurt you, what's going to kill your deal. You want to know what your future buyer is going to be looking at as well. So for now, just look at this list that I'm going to go over here, and it's just a short list of things that we'll be covering into the future, but it's questions that you want to get answers to. So I'm just going to kind of run through this list, and then we'll talk about a little bit of each of them. But again, we'll be going into more detail in these things in future episodes. So one of them is my lot a legal lot or not? Is this a legally platted lot? And that has implications because you may not be able to get a building permit if it's not. Are there subdivision map restrictions? Are there actual restrictions that are on the subdivision tract map itself that prevent you from building or prevent you from building in the way that, you'd think that somebody would want to build? Are there HOA restrictions? So are there something in the CC&Rs that are restricting building on that lot, or something that tells you how you need to build on that lot? Is it restricted for open space, for example? So there's things like that you need to look at. Is there certain types of dedications that are on the lot, for streets or for something else that are going to reduce the size of the lot, that are going to impact somebody being able to build on it? What's the approved land use for that zone? Is it something that can be done for a residential use? Is it something that can be done for multifamily? You may end up in a situation that's better than you thought. You may find a lot that's actually an upzoned lot, something that can be done with more density than a single family house. That may make the lot more valuable. So you never really know. So you need to look at zoning, for example. You need to look at things at minimum lot area. What's the minimum lot area for that zone? Is it 5,000 square foot minimum lot size? Is it 10,000 square foot minimum lot size? That may have implications, especially if you need to actually plat that lot if it was not a legal lot and part of a legal subdivision. What's the maximum density? How many units can you get per acre in that zone? What are the setbacks? How far from the front, back, sides, etc. that you need to be in terms of your building setback from the property lines? What's the maximum building height? Are there protected tree species, for example? A lot of places in California protect oak trees, and sometimes that can limit the buildability of a lot. So these are all things that you kind of need to think about and look at when you go to actually do some of your due diligence. And again, these are some of the things that we'll be talking about in future episodes. So these are just some of the things that you want to be able to talk about and look at. So the list goes on, and there's many different things that you need to look at. But the whole general overarching idea is that there's a reason why the lot's vacant. And hopefully it's for some really simple, basic, innocent reason. And a lot of times that's absolutely the case. But if not, you want to know what are the things that are actually restricting this lot from actually being built on. Some of those things can be overcome rather simply, and some of them can't. But again, it speaks to marketability. Completely understand that you're not going to be the one that's actually building on the lot, but somebody's going to be able to do that. Somebody wants to be able to build on that lot, and that person's going to do their due diligence. They're professionals in this industry. They're building houses all the time. They're going to do that level of due diligence to understand what they're getting into. So you really want to have a sense for what they're going to be getting into, because again, it's going to speak to how much they're going to be able to spend on that lot, and it's going to also ultimately depend on how much you can make your offer price for. So these are all things that you want to keep in mind. So that does it for now for this episode of Infill Lot Recon. Check out the next episode where we're going to talk about due diligence disasters. The ugly, the really ugly, and the really, really damn ugly. I have some real horror stories for you guys that I'll share next time, as well as other times in the future as well. I'm thinking I'm going to look at doing this as kind of like a regular weekly thing where I give you kind of one or two stories of some disasters that I ran into along the way. Hopefully you can learn from them and use them as some warning as you go about doing your own due diligence. So if you have any comments or questions, or if you're interested in my consulting services, go ahead and email me at info@wholesalelanddepot.com. As always, you can find us on YouTube or on our website at wholesalelanddepot.com. See you next time. Thanks.